Leanne Dalziel hasn't spoken for the longest period of time. Honourable Leanne Dalziel.
Mr Chairman, well, I haven't spoken on this part at all, so I'm looking forward to several calls and contributing to this debate, I hope, in a constructive way. I went and listened to a presentation given by, two presentations actually given by two different people that have come from California to New Zealand recently. One was the I didn't write down their names. One was the judge from the court that has to administer the three strikes law, and the other one was the Reverend Gibbons. Reverend Ron Gibbons, who was speaking very recently as well. And so, one of the things that I thought was quite fascinating was the definition of the legislation as it's defined as three strikes. And it was a point that I actually hadn't heard before, because of course that expression three strikes comes from America's favourite game. But it doesn't actually mean what it means when you're playing baseball. Because, of course, when you're playing baseball, three strikes means that you're out, but then you can come back in the next round. In fact, you might hit the home run that wins you the game. And that isn't what this bill is all about. It's actually not about people being able to redeem themselves, to rehabilitate and to contribute to society in a way that is meaningful. And that's my real fundamental problem with this legislation, is that it is actually a one-size-fits-all approach, using populist slogans that actually don't mean anything. And the experience over in California, and I've heard people talk about the experience in California with respect to the question of the crime rate, and in fact there are many other justifications for changes in crime rates. They were already going down before the three strikes rate law came into effect. But one of the things that they made the point around is that the increase in violence against prison guards was exponential. When people don't have any chance of ever seeing the light of day again, then it does become a more dangerous occupation. And the other one, which I hadn't thought of, was violence to police. If you're already sitting on that two strikes, and that third strike is pending and you are about to be arrested. And one of the examples that we were given was of an individual who was facing the third strike. Now, in the United States or California, the three strikes is even more repressive than this particular regime, because it does apply to offences that are not that serious. And of course it applies forever. So if you've had a bad youth and you've gone off the rails, and then later on in life you commit that third strike, you can find yourself facing consequences that are way beyond what anyone else would face for the particular offence in any other set of circumstances. The other thing that I thought was fascinating was apparently one of the CEOs, and I haven't been able to just track this down yet, but I will definitely have it available for my third reading contribution to this debate, is that the CEO of one of the private prisons said that mandated sentencing, because actually that's what three striker is, it's mandated sentencing, takes away the discretion from the judges, tells the judges that they can only do things in a certain way. And he was quoted in Business Week as saying that mandated sentencing provided exciting growth opportunities in the private prison industry. Now, I just thought that was fascinating because, of course, this government's introduced the private prison industry to New Zealand as well. So when you actually add the two of them together, you start to see that actually this makes sense from a profit-making provision as well, playing on people's fears of being victimised. Now, one of the examples that we got given to us was a 16-year-old who'd stolen two cheques from his mother, forged a name, that's cheque fraud, and of course he'd stolen two cheques, so that was 2 counts, so he was convicted on 2 counts. They're both felonies. The last year he was 20 years old. He went into a convenience store, he stole a candy bar. And he turned round to the shop owner. Look, every time I get up to speak, Mr. Chairman,
Leanne Dalziel.
Mr. Chairman, every time I get up to speak, I'm constantly asked to give names. I don't know the name of this one. This was an example of a case that was given to us in a presentation, and I'm sure that individual, because the individual said that actually he made a suggestion that member contact him, because he would love to have the debate directly with that member. No, I don't think we're talking about the same people. Anyway, last year he was 20 years old. He went into a convenience store. He stole a candy bar. He turned around to the shop assistant and said, I'm going to kill you if you tell anyone I did this. Now, of course, he was arrested. His sentence, 25 years to life. 25 years to life. So he had the 2 stolen cheques from his mother and then this stealing of a candy bar. So the problem is, and he also made this point, which I thought was very fascinating in light of the issues that we deal with in terms of dealing with constituents who've lost money in major scams and in major white-collar crime. What's missing from the list of crimes? Bribery, fraud, pandering, all of the white-collar crimes are left out of this. This is going to fill our jails with young Māori men. It's going to fill our jails with young Māori men. That is the bottom line. And in America, when they did an analysis, they discovered that 36% of those in prison had an underlying mental illness. 36%. And that wasn't including those that had drug and alcohol issues that required treatment as well. And when you actually start to think about what that might mean, we actually start thinking about warehousing of prisoners with mental illness who require treatment in our criminal justice system instead of a more caring and understanding society. And every time we have this debate, we are accused of being either soft on or hard on crime. Well, I actually don't think that that's the debate that we should have. There are some people who are so dangerous they should be locked up forever. I've got no problems with that. I don't think anyone's got any problems with that. And all of the speakers who've come to this country to tell us not to go down this track have said that as well. There are some people who are criminal, they're evil, they are unrehabilitatable, if that's a word that one can use. There is no hope for them, and they should be catered for in a humane way, and they should be never allowed to rejoin society. We all accept that. But what this does is it says on 3 separate occasions, in any time in your life, no matter what the circumstances, this is how the law will be applied in your case, and it doesn't matter that a judge might have some discretion which would normally apply. We will take the judge's discretion away from the judge, and we will mandate a sentence regardless of the circumstances. And that is the fundamental problem with this particular piece of legislation, is that it doesn't actually deal with the real problem, because the real problem can be dealt with by addressing those that commit serious crimes that cannot be rehabilitated. There are those, and the effort obviously has to go in at the front end as well, so that we can do the early intervention work to make the difference. We on this side of the House have offered to work collaboratively with the government on the early intervention policy, and we really haven't had the positive response that I would have thought that any government would want to work with an opposition in order to achieve those things that are going to make the difference in the long term. We don't have to worry about beating on the law and order drum if we're actually serious about doing something that's going to make a difference in the long term, unless we're prepared to look at early intervention, early childhood education, our SIFs, all of those different areas. All of those things. We need to look at what causes, what are some of those underlying causes. This does not excuse the behaviour. But if we don't understand what drives the behaviour, how on earth are we going to do